Welcome to the Cornbread and Kool-Aid podcast. My name is Demetrius. This is a podcast for Detroit sports fans, specifically Detroit Lions fans. I hope you enjoy the podcast today. We shout out, as always, to the super producer extraordinaire, Mr. Mike Ward. We have people who hit us up and help us out. And I want to start off today by saying, first of all, if you enjoyed the podcast, that's great. We hope you do. If you do, like us, retweet, post, do whatever it is you do in social media when you show that you like something. So we hope you'll do that for us. We like doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. It's fun. So today, there's a lot of people, mostly I shout out to Mike. I will certainly shout out friends. I'll talk about my brother and others, but there's other people who have helped me like on this podcast journey, just getting into podcasting, learning how to do this, keeping me interested and sharp and how to enjoy it. And it occurred to me that, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to mention some of them. So I'm going to get into the Lions. Today, we're going to talk about their organized team activities from last week. And we're going to go through the schedule. And I want to make my predictions. And I'm laughing already because the 3-13-1 team from last year, I believe I predicted them to go 8-9. So, but you know what this is, you know who I am, so that's not surprising. But there's a couple of people I want to mention. If you like this podcast, you like sports in general, or just guys talking about sports, there's a couple of guys, couple of podcasts you can spend some time, take a look, hit them up on Twitter though, follow them on Twitter, help them out, help me help them out. One is my friend Mike Valverde, even though he went to a certain school who shall not be named. He is a good dude. He's a Colts fan, and you can get Mike at RFL Red Zone on Twitter. My friend, I just recently connected with a guy, Chris Kendrick, solid dude. A Bit Inside is his baseball podcast at A Bit Inside, ABIT Inside. The guru, right? The guy, Bill Carroll, Nuts and Bolts Sports, draft wizard, knows everything about everything, right? Bill Carroll's my guy at 11 Bravo 138. Spell out 11 Bravo and then the number is 138. And then there's the OG, right? The guy who runs the sports crib on Thursday night, Mr. James King at WC Steeler fan. So I had to shout out a couple of guys who have been a big help to me, a big part of what I'm doing. And like I do every week, shout out to super producer, the SPE Mike Ward. You guys know Mike, and Mike's going to get some FaceTime during the Bears games this year. So we'll get back to that. So yeah. So one other thing, and I'll be quick because I don't think people who are listening for the people who are listening for a specific reason. And I don't like to deviate too much, but I did get it on Twitter when I sort of posted that I was going to do this today. And the guy was like, hey, I hope you take some time in your podcast to talk about, the real life stuff going on in our country. And I'm just going to be clear. I'm not. I have strong opinions. I get it. It's important, but that's not what I'm here for. This isn't the place for that. So Jim J, all due respect, bro, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to talk about this football team, OTAs, the schedule. And I think the people who are doing me the pleasure of listening, they are not listening for that. So I burned 4 minutes on thanking people and disclaimers. And now we're going to get into it for the reason people want to hear my ridiculous predictions, how I found a way for them to win 10 football games. And I did. So, and again, at Cornbread Pod, I'm always open to hearing. I'm always open to people who want to give out like, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing? I'm cool with all that, right? You guys, if you listen, you know how I am. I'm unapologetic about my fandom. I'm unapologetic about my optimism. This is who I am. I'm an optimist as a human being. I'm an optimist as a fan of the Tigers, of the Red Wings, of the Pistons, of Michigan State University. I am some word that's not even invented about this football team. And I will never. That's why I thought a podcast might be interesting. You can find a million guys out there telling you all the things that's wrong, all the things that are wrong, who should be fired, why they suck. you will find people who could do that for you. My brother is one of them. I am not that guy. I'm the guy who's found a way for them to win 10 games this year. So if you're here looking for objective realism, if you're looking for no, I'm not just out of the blue. Let's get to it. So first, I'm going to start with OTAs, right? So organized teamed activities is what they do. It's not really a practice, right? In the sense that, they're not wearing pads and it's limited contact, but it's incredibly valuable work, right? It's valuable for different people for different reasons. But OTAs in general, it's that you always hear the same sort of thing coming out of OTAs. It's almost never negative, right? Everybody looks great. Everybody's improved. So, but what you're really looking for are a couple things, right? You want to see how the rookies or new guys look. And even that is subjective. These are guys who are just learning terminology, learning the playbook, learning their surroundings, how to get to the bathroom. They're new, right? Whether they're coming from another city or they're rookies, right? So how do the new additions look, whether they're rookies or guys from other teams? What's the status of injured guys that are coming back who were injured last year? How do they look from a health standpoint? Scheme changes, right? Campbell might have mentioned some things they're going to do a little bit differently. We can all kind of agree that the team that we saw in the last 6 games where they went 3-3 looked a little different than the 0-10-1 team before that. And that's just they're starting to get used to each other. The coaches are watching film and figuring out what they do well and what they don't do well. So you want to see what scheme changes carried over. Anthony Lynn is gone. The new OC is in. And it looks like Campbell's still calling plays, and these are just little things. You're not really going to see any of this stuff until preseason. And even then, you're not going to see much. But you kind of want to get a look, right? We've been gone for a minute. We haven't played a game in a while. You just want to see players out there running around, right? And I think you want to see specific position group improvements, right? And I think to me, the biggest one is linebacker, right? You wanted to see some of these linebacker additions, whether it's a couple of rookies they've added, or if it's guys like Pittman. And you want to see what's happening with the linebacking core. I still contend that is the group that I had the most concern about is the linebacker group. The secondary, I think there's and the last thing, probably most important, I almost missed it, organic growth. Organic growth. You want to see last year's rookies get better. Amon-Ra St. Brown was really good, right? You want to see Derek Barnes in packages. Is he reading things, right? Is he doing the right things? You're not concerned about his physical ability, but is he learning, right? You want to see what Anzarike and Aleem McNeil, how do they look up front? So you want to see Melifonwu. He's playing a little bit of safety and corner. You want to see that. Things like Will Harris being switched over from safety to corner. So these are the kinds of things you're hoping to see at an OTA. OTAs aren't about, it's not like watching a game. It's not like even an August practice. It's a lot of walkthroughs. It's a lot of terminology stuff, assignments. This is the basics. But you're super excited to see the group together doing things. But OTAs have a value. They have a huge value. So, I mean, learning the playbook, getting down timing and that kind of stuff. Don't discount the value of OTAs. I don't know how much people look into them or think about them. There's value. There's value for the rookies. There's value to new players. There's value to guys coming off of injuries. So OTAs I'm going to consider is a big deal. But a couple of things I noted, I was watching some of the reports coming out of it, and a little bit that I saw that they were allowed to see. Saw a bunch of pictures of DeAndre Swift looking like he's going to compete in Mr. Universe. The dude is cut. I mean, you can find him. And if you're listening to this, you probably already seen him. You know what I'm talking about. DeAndre Swift looks like he's in some kind of bodybuilding contest. The guy looks crazy. I assume that's good. I don't know. I saw Okudah on the field, which is good. No matter what you think about Jeff Okudah, and I don't know a lot of people who agree with me, and I'm cool with that. But you guys know who I am. You're listening. You know what I'm about. I don't think I have enough evidence to call into the radio show in the afternoon and say, this guy's a bum, he's dirt. I do not. I think the guys struggled with injuries, and his rookie season wasn't even fair in terms of no OTAs because of the pandemic, and he got injured in camp. I don't think we know what Jeff Okudah is yet. So I'm not sitting here saying Jeff Okudah is going to be a Pro Bowler. I'm not. I'm saying that coming out of college, most scouts for most teams really liked him. So there was something there. Now, if you tell me that the injuries have impacted him to the degree that he can't be as effective as they thought, I can buy that. I don't think we have evidence of that. So I'm interested to see what happens with Okudah. This Will Harris to full-time corner thing, I'm interested in that. I didn't think we were strong enough at safety to move a safety to corner. That was my first thought. But he did not embarrass himself. And with injuries, corner was certainly a thin position. I think that with the signing of Deshaun Elliott, safety is a stronger position, so you may have the ability to do this. I'm interested to see Melifonwu, how he progresses, that organic growth thing I talked about. He certainly equated himself very well, I thought. So I'm interested to see how he does at both positions. A couple guys that I saw pop up in a lot of reports, very under the radar guys, and I don't know, it might be much ado about nothing. I'll say that right up front. One is Ja'Shawn Cornell, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State that they drafted in the 7th round. I'm going to say 3 years ago, 19 probably, 7th round pick. He got suspended, missed some time because of substance abuse. But I've heard reports that he looks pretty good. And so that would be just kind of an unexpected little bonus. He's like a 235th pick in the draft 3 years later. And then there's an undrafted free agent, Anthony Pittman. I mentioned him earlier, 2019. So Cornell might have been 20. But Pittman's an undrafted free agent out of Wayne State at linebacker. This could be a product of thin linebacker. Could be a product of a guy growing into something. So I'm not expecting either of these guys to make the Pro Bowl. I'm not talking like that. It's just some names we hadn't really heard before that could start to pop up on the radar. You start hearing about them. Let's keep an eye out for them. So I mean, in general, you don't hear a lot of negative anyway, ever coming out of OTAs, right? OTAs are, not like quite like the draft, which is borderline Christmas, right? But it's a very controlled environment. It's called organized team activities for a reason. It's very structured. It's important work for the team, especially for the coaches. And like I said, rookies, new members of the team, guys coming off injury. It's really important for them. I think for the fans, it's just, hey, it's football, right? It's your team back in some kind of action. So I thought I would, I was going to go through the schedule anyway. I thought, let me look in, and I keep my eye on it every day anyway, see what's going on. But short of like something interesting at quarterback, which I don't particularly think we have this year, some kind of unfortunate injury or a dramatic regression, like some dude comes in grossly out of shape or something like that. OTAs are pretty straightforward. You don't generally get these horrible stories coming out of OTAs. So I saw some good reports. They're mostly good. Nothing that really concerned me. I think Decker has a foot injury that he's still working through, but nothing that anybody's scared about. Too early to project on Jameson Williams, in my opinion. I've seen reports varying. There are people who say he'll be ready for camp. I've seen week 4 projections. I'm staying away from that one. When we get to camp, we'll start to get real reports about where he is. And the reality is he should be in a perfect world significantly better and better to read where he is a month and a half from now than we are now. 6-8 weeks from now, we'll have a better idea of where he is in terms of and I'm of the opinion, just to put it on record, I take all the time you need. Take all the time you need. You if you come back for Thanksgiving, I'm not going to be upset. If you have a setback and don't play all year, I'm not going to be. This is a long game. The Jameson Williams piece of this is long game. Doesn't bother me one bit. Love the move. As I said in the post-draft podcast, I thought it was smart. I thought it was aggressive at the same time. And I thought when you target a guy and he happens to fill your biggest need and you do what you have to do to go get him, it speaks to the confidence that your scouting team had in him. So I'm not worried about that injury. They will be smart. They will be smart about that. So, all right, so let's get to it. The main purpose of this podcast today is about The schedule came out. I was traveling a bit, a little under the weather. So I took my time. I said, I'm going to get to it. We'll get to it. And then I just felt like, okay, I went through it again, a second time, because the first time, I came out and said, wow, you can't do a podcast and predict this team to improve this much. It must be you. It's probably always me. So then I said, well, no. Before I get to predicting the games, I'll talk to you about like what goes into this, right? Schedule predicting in general is just not easy. I mean, we're guessing, right? Even the smartest dude who thinks he's smart, the guy in the paper, the guy on the radio in the afternoon, they're all guessing. It's their best guess based on what they know and what they think and how they feel. And there's a whole lot more feeling in it than those guys would want to admit. I am upfront. There's a lot of emotion, right? When you're objective observer, the guys who do not have cornbread for breakfast every morning like I do, it's still not easy for them. When you're biased like me, like massive cornbread eater, this is a real hard thing to do. So cut me some slack. Me and my friend Art tried this last year, and we might have had them 9-8. I think it was 8-9. But the reason it's hard is simple, right? For me, I historically just consider the Lions, right? The team that ended last season. Do I think they're better? So I'm always doing a Lions this year versus Lions last year comparison. That's one of the flaws, right, in my logic. That's one of the reasons that it almost never works out in my favor. The second reason is that I incorporate like my biases, my hopes, my wishes that they will do well. The cornbread. There's the cornbread factor for me is that I'm optimistic as a human being. And like I said earlier, uber optimistic as a Lions fan. Maybe to my own detriment, but again, I don't really care about those people who don't agree with me, who don't see things the way I do. I respect that they see things differently, but I do not let them affect what I think. Because I do believe, and if you listen to this podcast, I hope you will agree, while I consume massive amounts of cornbread, there is certainly a degree of logic and reasoning and statistical data. It's just skewed to the positive. And when I'm not doing that, when I'm not using logic and reasoning, I'll be honest about it. I'm just honest about it. And last year, I think Art and I did not really consider new coaching staff. I don't think we considered injury, which you can't do. How do you factor in injury, right? You can't on any team. So there could be a game on paper that I'm going to predict here in a few minutes that here in late May, it's going to look like a loss, but the other team has a massive injury and they might end up winning it, or vice versa. I know I didn't have them beating Arizona last year. Might have been the best game they played all year. It's hard to predict that factor. When do they get it together? What's that day where they just show up and everything goes well, right? I don't often, I know Art and I didn't last year, really, really focus on the other team. Is the other team better than they were? So I'm making my predictions this year on, say, last year's Chicago Bears. What if the Bears are better this year than the Bears were last year? How is that factored in? Yeah, I don't really care about that. I don't care about that. I'm not suggesting to you I'm going to do that. Think about it though. You can't predict the flukes, the things that dumbass Dan is going to say is just same old Lions. You can't predict the fluke. There's a flukiness to both the Baltimore and road Minnesota loss last year. Last second field goals, they gave up one or two plays in the last minute, allowing those teams. Baltimore's was like a 4th and 30, 4th and 19, something like that. And they gave up like a 25-yard pass. And those people will tell you that's predictable. That's the Lions. That's who they are. SOL. That's not who I am. They could have easily made those plays. And in other games, they made plays, right? But they lost both of those on last second field goals. One was a record. So if they win those games and they're 5-11-1, what if they make one play in the Steeler game? Now you're at 6 wins. Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. It's hard. This predicting thing is hard when you're objective. If you're jaded like me, it is really hard. So I'm just saying all this. It sounds like an excuse that I'm making because of my horrible prediction last year. And yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to explain away my horrible prediction from last year. But I think I'm going to take this year uh pragmatically might be the word I want to use. I'm going to try and be smarter and walk through my predictions a little more non-cornbready. I know that's not a word, but it feels like it should be. So, but we didn't. I didn't consider last year the new scheme that they made a play caller change in the middle of the year. The talent deficiency is the biggest thing I ignored. Art and I thought they were better than they were. That's the truth, and that's on us, and that's okay. So this year I'm going to try and be smarter. I'm gonna try and limit the amount of cornbread that goes into these predictions. I know last year I didn't realize how badly Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, how much they had damaged this organization in terms of what they were trying to do. I know I didn't factor in that Tyrell Williams, who I thought would be important, would get injured, or Ragnow's injury, or Akuta's injury, Romeo's injury, Trey Flowers. You get what I'm saying, right? You can't predict some of this stuff. So all that is to say, this year I'm making a prediction in late May based on my best knowledge in late May, with a touch of cornbread and a dose of Kool-Aid. So that's where we are. I think there's more data. I have a better idea of who they are. The team that went 0-10-1, that's not where this prediction is. This team will lean more toward the team that went 3-3 in their last 6 and are getting a Pro Bowl center back, that are getting a lot of players back from injury, that added talent to the wide receiver room, to the defensive line room. And I think a team that has a defensive coordinator that figured some stuff out, a head coach who was calling plays better at the end than not. So I'm not promising complete and total objective logic and reasoning, because that's not what this podcast has ever been or will be. But what I am promising is, I think they're going to win some games. And you could disagree. You'll disagree. So every game isn't going to be data and breakdown, but it'll be, hey, this is why I think it. And you can disagree with me on any number of things. So, all right, let's kick it. Week 1, September 11th, home to the Eagles. So there's all these different opinions. And one of the things I talked about was the other team. And I'm going to try and do that here. So the Eagles went to the playoffs last year. The Eagles were a good team. Like, I don't think they're great. I mean, the biggest thing for me for this game was, while I don't think they're great, the worst game the Lions played last year was home to the Eagles. The Eagles gave them the business. So I know the Lions are better. And I don't think that's a rash statement to say, especially if you consider what they were last year. The Lions are better this year than the Lions were last year. I don't know exactly what the Eagles are. And it's tough. It's tough. So even though it's home, forget that. I'm picking the Lions. I think they're going to play better. I think they're better. I'm picking the Lions 1-0. We might as well go ahead and start off. Get that out the way. That's the ones where, you might think it's already in motion. Second game is home as well against the Commanders. We got to get used to that. I haven't slipped much on them. I slip on the Chargers. I don't slip on the Commanders much. But I don't think the Commanders. Okay, so I think they have some talent. They got some good young talent on this team. I'm not a Carson Wentz guy though. This is one of those dudes. I don't know what they see in Carson Wentz. So I think the Lions put together solid game, play hard, and I think they're good enough that they can beat the Commanders and get to 2-0. And don't freak out. I'm not about to do some 17-0 nonsense or anything like that. I believe they can win both of those games. And you could disagree, and that's cool. And I should just go ahead and pull up Twitter and let me see who's giving me the business already, because I can't imagine I'm not getting that. So, all right. Oh, of course. Okay. So of course, the one thing I got already is there was no chance they were ever going to win 8 games. You were smoking last year. Okay, whatever. Cool. Maybe true, maybe not. I mean, it's not the smoking part. I don't get down like that. But whatever. I didn't say I'm going to be right. I didn't say anything like that. And I never will. I'm going to do my best. So we're going to week 3. They're 2-0. And then they got to go to Minnesota. And now, so again, I'm honest, logic, reasoning. Minnesota was the better team on the field last year in the Minnesota game. They slipped up late, gave the Lions an opportunity. Lions kept playing hard and had a chance. And then Minnesota won on a last second field goal. Here's the thing. This is only week 3, so Dalvin Cook won't be hurt yet. Probably. And I can't get super silly and have them starting 3-0. So I don't think it'll be ugly, but I think Minnesota will win this game and the Lions will be 2-1. Then they come back home to play Seattle. A Seattle team without Russell Wilson. A Drew Lock at this point, maybe they do something else. I mean, it could be Geno Smith. Who the hell? I don't know. I'm sorry. I think Detroit's better. I think the Lions are better. I think the Lions are trending up. I think Seattle's trending down. And I think they're 3-1 after 4 weeks. And I don't know why I'm doing that like I got to explain it. I like my picks. I think this is legit. And if you don't agree with me, whatever. I don't care. Week 5 at New England. So the worst part of this is we're going to see a whole hell of a lot of Matt Patricia, which is just going to suck in general. It's just going to suck to see Matt Patricia as much as I have to in that game. Except here's the thing. The difference is coaching. While Dan Campbell is growing on me, I would call him good. I think the Dan Campbell of the last 6 games last year, I like that guy. So he is growing on me. Belichick's a better coach. I think they're a better team. Don't get me wrong. This is a loss. This goes to 3-2. So they go into the bye week 3-2. And I'm comfortable with that. Now we're going to have some fun. So week 6 is a bye. Week 7, they go to Dallas. I don't like Dallas. I don't like the organization more than I don't like the team, right? But all cornbread aside, Dallas is more talented. The game is in Dallas. I think, again, they play hard. They stay close, but they lose. And so we get to 3-3. So you guys who thought I was going to do something super silly can take a breath, a short breath, because we're about to get crazy. No, we're not. Week 8 is Sunday. It's home against the Dolphins. I don't know. This is one that's tough because I don't know what Tua is. They added Tyreek Hill, and there are guys who are going to say to me, oh, Tyreek Hill is going to roast you guys. I don't know what Tua to Tyreek Hill looks like, right? I don't know. I think Aaron Glenn by week 8 is going to have this defense playing really well. It's a home game. I don't think Miami's world beaters. I got to win. They go to 4-3. Sunday, November 6th, the Packers come in. Don't really like to talk about them very much. I'm going to be honest and just give them a loss here. I'm not mentioning that dude's name at all. So, Chris, wherever you are, you're welcome. Yeah, I'm not talking about him or that team. I'm going to give them a loss because, okay, that team's better. Fine. That's all I'm going to say. 4-4, heading into week 10 where they go to Chicago. This is the one that's going to get me grief from the super producer extraordinaire. Mike Ward's Chicago Bear fan. Mike's my guy. You guys know how I feel about Mike. I think that Justin Fields was up and down. I know there are people who love him. I didn't. They need to hope that he takes a big step forward. But guess what? New staff, new scheme, whole bunch of new stuff, right? I'm going to be honest. I like the Lions. I think the Lions are a better team unless there's some weird weather thing. By this time, I told you guys, I can't factor in injuries. I don't know how to do that. If things being whatever they are, I think the Bears are going to be too reliant on Justin Fields making secondary plays breaking down, him doing stuff with his feet. And I think that's going to make them eminently beatable. I'd take a win here and go to 5-4. Now I think you get to, with the exception of one, the best part of the schedule. This is where people just have them middle of the road, sleep on them, not really be thinking about them. I think they go to New York week 11 on November 20th to play the Giants. I just think the Lions are better. I think the Giants had a great draft and are going to be pretty good, but I just don't like their quarterback. And if you can look me in the eye and say, I'll take Daniel Jones over Jared Goff, we don't see things the same way. I don't know where Saquon is. If Saquon comes back healthy, misses no games, is dominant, cool. Okay. They added a receiver. They added Thibodeau. Giants are going to be good. I don't know what the Giants quarterback situation is. I'm taking a win. I think they go there and this is where they get noticed. And people are like, ooh. So now the Lions are 6-4. And the problem is the toughest game on your schedule is on Thanksgiving, right? The NFL schedule makers decided to do this thing where literally you play the best team on your schedule on Thanksgiving. It's Buffalo, and we're not going to spend a bunch of time. The Bills are different, right? The Bills are one of the better teams in the league. Josh Allen's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I don't see. Now you might get best game of the year, hype up for Thanksgiving. Cool. That'd be great. I have to be realistic. I think this is the toughest game on your schedule, and I don't see a win. I hope you get a respectable effort where you don't really get smoked and embarrassed on Thanksgiving Day. But I'm a little pissed that the schedule makers decided to do that. But their comeback might be scheduling Buffalo is us trying to have a reason for people to watch the game. And I couldn't push back. I wouldn't like hearing that, but I really wouldn't push back. That's fine. I think Buffalo wins. Lions are at 6-5. Now, at 6-5, coming off a loss on Thanksgiving, this is where Dan Campbell has earned his money. This is where Jared Goff needs to make drafting a quarterback a non-conversation. And I don't even care how much hyperbole is in that statement, and I readily agree there's a bit of it there. So Sunday, December 4th, Jacksonville comes into town. Simple. You're better than Jacksonville. That's a business trip. Go do your job. Trevor Lawrence is good. He might end up being great. They don't have the weapons. They should not have the weapons to beat you at home. And you should be coming off a respectable game against Buffalo. That was a tough loss on Thanksgiving. Extra rest. This should be your biggest win of the year, quite frankly. You should blow Jacksonville out. I got them winning 7-5. Minnesota comes in the next week. Again, I gave Minnesota the win in Minnesota, but Minnesota's got a new staff. Dalvin will almost certainly be hurt by this time. He won't play. I have the Lions winning this game. I think this is where they're starting to get good, and we're starting to see that they're a good team. So they go to 8-5. Then they go to the Jets, who had a good draft. But again, you should win this game. I think you're better than the Jets, barring injuries and different things. I think. I don't know what their quarterback is. I don't know what Zach Wilson is. I know he's a bit of a gunslinger, takes chances. Yep. I'm picking the Lions to win week 15 at the Jets, taking them to 9-5. The next game is the one where I have to be realistic and say there's a stinker there somewhere, right? There's a stinker there somewhere, right? The Jet game takes them to 9-5, by the way. And as badly as I want to give them a game the day before Christmas at Carolina, that feels like one where I don't know. And some of that's baggage. I'm giving them a loss here. It is on the road. They have been, at some point they're going to get that stinker. And I had not identified a stinker yet. And I have to be realistic. But Buffalo's not as much a stinker as just a better team's going to beat you. This is the one I'm going to put down in the category of stinker. So week 16, Christmas Eve in Carolina. I'm going to give that one to the Panthers and have the Lions at 9-6 with the Bears coming in on New Year's Day. And I already told you, I think the Lions are better than the Bears. I think the Bears, new staff, new scheme, are starting to get better, figure some things out. We don't know really what the situation is there. And I think it's probably competitive. But at this point, I think the Lions really are starting to know what they are. You certainly have Jameson Williams well back by now. I think you're starting to see what this team's going to be, and it's starting to look really good. So this is a cornbread win. Nah, the first game was probably the cornbread win. But I balanced that out with the stinker in Carolina. I got the Lions winning week 17, New Year's Day, against the Bears, taking them to 10-6. And stop laughing because there's another game, right? It's either January 7th or January 8th, depending on how they decide to structure the last week of scheduling. It's at Lambeau. It's going to be cold. It could be meaningful. What if the Packers aren't as good as I think they are and this game matters? Well, the thing is, I've seen that movie. If it matters, we know exactly how it's going to happen because we've seen that 2 or 3 times in the past. Going to Lambeau, last game of the season, winner gets the division, loser is out, or loser gets a wild card and has to go on the road. It's going to be that kind of nonsense. Um, as optimistic as I think this is, I cannot, in good conscience, predict a January 7th road win at Lambeau. That's just arrogant. That's just kind of nonsensical. So no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. 10-7, understanding it's optimistic, understanding there's a degree of cornbread, not knowing about injuries or any of that. I believe this is a better football team. I believe they've got something going, but I don't need to say that. You guys, if you're listening to this, you know who I am. You know how I get down. You're not surprised. You're probably not surprised that I have them with 10 wins. But yeah, I've got them going 10-7. I think Jared Goff settles the conversation around the quarterback position. Not that he makes the Pro Bowl or is great, but he dispels the idea that we need to go get someone. I think these ratings and quarterback things that have come out recently have not been fair to him. I think the one thing we know about Jared Goff that nobody wants to say out loud, and I have no problem saying it, is that on a team with a good defense and talent around him, he can lead you into he can lead you deep into the playoffs because he's done it. And the gratuitous Stafford mentioned, the knock on Stafford for 12 years was he's never done it. People will ignore his stats, ignore his performance, his guts, playing hurt, comeback wins. They ignored all that stuff. He hasn't want to play. He hasn't done it. He's got to do it. And then even when he did it, they didn't give him credit. Goff's done it. So we know that with talent around him in the right situation, good coaching, good defense, running game, things that the Lions appear to be putting together, Chark and Williams together, this could be something, right? So I am someone who does not believe that under no circumstances can Jared Goff be the quarterback of our future. I don't believe that. I am actually of the belief that you will start to see the version of Jared Goff that can lead your team. And what you'll see is that, wow, if we add more talent on defense, if we keep him clean with a really good offensive line, which I believe we have, Jared Goff can be a good quarterback. Didn't say great, didn't say elite, said good. Good enough to when Aaron Rodgers leaves, why can't we be competing for a North title for the foreseeable future? And you can call that cornbread if you want. I truly believe this team will be competing for North titles for the foreseeable future because of the way they're building it, because of that trade, which is going to bring more talent next year, because of the intelligent way that Brad Holmes manages both the salary cap and the draft. Because I like what they did this year. I like what they did last year in the draft. I like what they're building. Dan Campbell has grown on me. The culture and environment of this football team. I think they're in the position to be competitive for a while. And I think that you start to see that come to fruition this year. This is the year we say, oh, they take that jump. We go, oh, huh. And the league says, maybe we should put them on primetime a couple of times next year, just in case this isn't a fluke. And then stack another good draft and some smart cap signings, because they didn't blow money into cap this year. They didn't. They still are managing the cap very intelligently. Next year, you can make a splash and have 3 of the top 45 picks, 50 picks. So you have the flexibility to do like what you did this year, move up, move around. This is the jump year, and then next year is when it gets fun. So yeah, I don't feel too weird calling 10-7 realistic. I could be dead wrong, like I was last year. I have more information this year than I did last year. So I don't think this is unexpected. If you listen to this podcast, if you know me and know what I'm about, this is probably not a shock. If you are shocked by this, or you do not listen to the podcast and don't know that this is who I am, this is pretty consistent. So I'm excited, obviously, ready for the season to go as soon as possible. Looking forward to it. Again, I want to thank you for listening to the podcast. Again, if you do like the podcast and you enjoy listening, I'll take all the support I can get. Retweet this thing on Twitter, like it, tell people about it, recommend it, post it. I take all that. I will take all that. I hope everyone has a good holiday weekend. Enjoy time with your family. Don't forget, this is really about acknowledging and thanking those who served for us. So thank you to all of those for their service. And again, hit me on Twitter at Cornbread Pod if you've got some thoughts or if you've got something to say, good or bad. I prefer the good. But thank you for listening, and I hope everyone enjoyed the podcast and have a good weekend.